Welcome, welcome. This is Gull Khan, your money mindset expert. And once again, we have the amazing, the wonderful, the charming Alex Charfen. Welcome, Alex.
Thanks for having me again.
Thank you so much for coming back, Alex. We had such a wonderful conversation, and I, for myself, learned so much from your wisdom on Friday feature, and it was so inspiring to listen to you. But we had to have you back for Money Talkies. But okay, now everybody has heard once again how amazing you are. But please, in your own words, tell everybody what it is that you do.
I'm the co-founder and CEO of a company called Simple Operations, and we show seven-figure entrepreneurs how to scale to eight figures. We work primarily with online entrepreneurs who have virtual or distributed teams and know that they are the biggest bottleneck in the business. In a very short period of time, we can show them how to get out of that being the biggest bottleneck, run the business through their team rather than having to do it all themselves, and scale predictably and consistently so they can have a bigger impact.
Wow, fantastic. So let's talk about that then today, Alex. Alex, what do you think causes most businesses to scale up or to business? So once somebody has, for example, multiple six-figure or seven-figure business, and they know that they have a product or service that's viable and it gets results for the clients either through the product or services, how does a business go about scaling that up and getting to the 8, 9 figures?
I think one of the biggest issues that you see in the world of entrepreneurship, especially in the companies that are making some money, but they're not scaling, is that they create a level of complexity that just doesn't make sense. And I always tell entrepreneurs, simplicity scales and complexity creates constraint. And if you want your business to grow, you should approach it with a level of simplicity and with a level of consistency. And I think that when you look at most entrepreneurs, they are focused on things that the business doesn't really need. And we chase shiny objects, shiny pennies, the squirrel that's running through the lawn, and we get distracted from the actual nuts and bolts of what's going to grow a business. And we have a framework that we teach entrepreneurs. It's a simple 5-step framework. It's like the highest level framework that we have, where we say you need to analyze the business, prioritize everything you could do, commit to what you should do, and enter a commitment, an execution period, then execute, and then renew. You go back to the beginning and you do that same thing again. You analyze, prioritize, commit, execute, and renew. And I think the issue that most entrepreneurs have is they skip the analysis step. Right. And we, when you look at what you do as an entrepreneur, you take limited resources of time, effort, energy, focus, and cash of you and your team. We all have a limited amount of time. We all can only put out so much effort. There's only so much you can focus on. There's only so much energy you have. And cash is always limited in a business unless you have some massive funding, and then your focus is going to be limited because investors are going to want to know a lot about where that money is going. And so, it's about understanding how to invest those resources in the right place in the business as often as possible to give you the highest level chance of success or the highest percentage chance of success.
Okay. So what are those 5 steps then? Can you go through them in detail?
So we have a framework that we call the 5 core functions of business, and it really covers that analyze step. So when you think about analysis of a business, the way that most entrepreneurs decide what to do, in fact, recently I was at an event. I'll tell this in the form of a story because it's easier to remember it if it's in the form of a story. So recently I was at an event called War Room here in Austin, and I went to grab lunch. I only had a few minutes because I was speaking right after lunch and at the event. And I sat down with this couple that I didn't know was a couple because I sat in between them, or I probably wouldn't have sat in between them if I'd known they were there together. And the woman next to me asked me, "What do you do?" And I said, "Well, I help entrepreneurs grow and scale their businesses and create consistency and predictability in their lives and in their companies." And she said, "Well, let me tell you about this issue that I'm having." And so she said, I've had a business that's at $1 million. It's been stuck at $1 million for the last 2 or 3 years, and I just don't know, what to do. And she said, let me tell you what I'm trying. She said, I've hired a sales consultant. I'm writing a book. I hired somebody to show me how to be a public speaker. And she rattled off this list, this absolutely overwhelming list of things that she was doing. And I said, well, it sounds like maybe the reason that you're not growing your business is there's not a tremendous amount of focus. You just rattled off what I would call 1-year projects, and you have 5 or 6 of them going on at the same time. Why are you doing those things? And she said, what do you mean why? And I said, why are you writing the book, learning how to speak, hiring a sales expert? Like, what are all these things? Why are you doing this? Do you have a problem with lead generation? She said, you know what? No, we have more people than we know how to talk to. I said, well, going out and speaking and writing the book, Those are two reasons why you would generate, or two mechanisms to generate leads. Are you having a problem with converting the people who come in? She's like, yeah, we just don't have the time. There's so many people there to talk to. I'm like, so how's this sales expert going to give you more time? She's like, yeah, you're right. I don't know how he's going to do that, but he said he could help us. And so I said, I think what you need to do is slow down and take a look at the business. There's 5 core functions in a business. And this is one of the primary frameworks we use when we're coaching businesses to scale, because if you can get that analyze step right and you invest your currencies in the right place, we call them the 5 entrepreneurial currencies. I just named them: cash, time, effort, energy, and focus. If you invest those in the right place, your business is going to grow. And the 5 core functions are lead generation. So what are you doing to generate a lead? Lead nurture. What are you doing to nurture that lead to a conversion event? Conversion. So the act of sale. Delivery. And then the third one is retention, resell, and upsell. We call them the 3 R's. It's retaining the person so they don't return your product. Then reselling that person and making sure that they buy from you again, and then reselling them an upsell. Like, how do you give them another upsell? How do you get them to buy more from you? And it doesn't matter what size business you have. It doesn't matter what stage of business you're in. You should focus on those 5 areas: lead generation, nurture, conversion, delivery, retention, resell, and upsell. And, if you consistently analyze your business around those 5 areas, you'll know where to invest your time, your effort, your energy, your money, and your focus. And, sitting next to this woman who now recently, just last month, she joined last month, because it's the second. So in February, she joined our program. And the reason she reached out is she's all over the place and has way too much going on and feels overwhelmed all the time. But a lot of that is her own doing. And I think what happens to a lot of entrepreneurs is we get to a place where we grow our business to a point, and then we try and do everything all at once and right away. In fact, that is the deadline that all of us have in our mind for anything we want to do, is all at once and right away. And when we analyze our business in a consistent way by looking at those 5 areas, everything changes. And here's an issue that happens to a lot of entrepreneurs, especially new economy entrepreneurs that are running online businesses with distributed teams, the types of companies we deal with, is that they will hit $1 million or $2 million or $10 million, and they'll talk to usually it's an attorney or an accountant. And I'm not saying this about all attorneys and accountants, but the vast majority of them give terrible business advice. You shouldn't listen to them. And it's the truth. They really do give absolutely horrible business advice, but because they're an attorney or an accountant, people listen to them. And usually it comes from somebody in that position where they say, oh, well, you have a $4 million business, you need a CFO. Or, you have a $1 million business, you need this thing. And the reality is, if the business isn't telling you that it needs it, then you should not go out and get that thing. So the way that we show our clients how to use the 5 core functions to make decisions is, if you're in a decision-making process, and usually we have them do a deep analysis of the 5 core functions every 90 days so that they know where the business stands. But if you're in a decision-making process, even if you just get on a whiteboard and you write down lead generation, lead nurture, conversion, delivery, retention, resell, and upsell, score yourself from 1 to 5, and then look and start from the left, go to right, and the lowest number gets attention first. So if you are a 3 in lead generation, or like this woman was a 4 or a 5 in lead generation, where she had more people than she could talk to, lead nurture, she was getting people to nurture. Conversion, she didn't have enough of a conversion mechanism to deal with everybody that was coming towards her. So if you get into a place where you do this analysis and you say, like, maybe I'm a 5 in lead generation, and we're a 3 or 4 in nurture. So we're getting a lot of people to the conversion event, but now we don't have a sales team. We don't have enough we don't have enough horsepower to convert. That's where you put your effort and energy for the quarter, or that's where you put the effort and energy to solve that problem. And I think that one of the biggest issues in the entrepreneurial world is entrepreneurs focusing on the wrong thing at the wrong time. Maybe it's the right thing for the next stage of the business, but if it's not going to move the business forward here's what happens. I think we've all had this experience. You enter into a project in your business, you nail the project, you get through it, and the numbers don't change. And nothing really modifies in the business. It's because you've completed something that really wasn't necessary in the business for the stage of growth you're in. So consistent analysis and investment of your currencies over time is going to change everything in the business. This is where you focus. And if anybody ever comes along and says, oh, you should stop focusing on that, you need to focus on something else, remember that those 5 core functions, lead gen, nurture, conversion, delivery, retention, resell, and upsell, those 5 areas are exactly what's going to grow your business over time.
Wow. Okay. Okay, so the five core functions would be we start with lead generation then, right? Is
Sure.
that right? Okay, so talk to us through the lead generation, and I've got a question for you. What's your thoughts on the new way that most people do it? Before it was opt-in and getting people to give the name and email address, and then it moved on to low ticket offers, and now it's going back to because of the iOS updates and lack of Facebook conversions and so forth, it's going back into the lead generation, which is back into the email address and so forth. What's your ideas about it? How can someone improve their lead generation? Talk us through that.
Well, it's all about understanding what type of leads you're getting. When you're scoring yourself from 1 to 5, lead generation means you get permission to talk to somebody. You get permission to talk to somebody in an email, in a Facebook group, in a text message campaign, wherever it is that you've generated that lead, you now have permission to go back and contact them, which will be nurtured. But let's stay on the first step of lead gen. The biggest issue that I see in lead generation is people don't understand who they want to talk to. So they're generating leads of just everybody and anything. And especially in an early stage business, one of the most important things you can do is understand your avatar. And by avatar, I mean understand the customer you want to serve. We use this term avatar that sometimes gets confusing. It's a movie. A lot of people don't understand what the term means. It's a composite of the person you want to serve. Like for us, we want to work with $1 million plus entrepreneurs that are already growing a small and maybe sometimes a little bit larger virtual team. They know they're the biggest bottleneck in the business, and they're on a mission. They know they want to do what they're doing, and they know they can make a huge impact in the world if they just had more resources, if they just had more help. And if we come across that person, near 100% of the time, we can help them. Now, most entrepreneurs don't understand their avatar, and they don't understand exactly who they're serving. And a lot of them have created a product that they think everybody should want, but because there's not a group of people who actually have a problem solved by it, nobody buys it. And so it's really about that lead generation step is understanding who is that customer you want to deal with, and then putting a strategy in place to go acquire that lead. Now, as far as like which strategy works the best, it's the strategy that works for the business. Some businesses do really well acquiring email addresses. Other businesses run their entire lead gen through text message or SMS campaigns now. There's Facebook groups. There's all kinds of stuff. You can run events. You can do all kinds of stuff to generate that lead. But it's what is it in your business? What is the strategy that's going to consistently get that lead through the door so that you can continue to market to them?
Right. Okay. So, but step one is, or the first core is lead generation, making sure that you've nailed that.
Yeah.
And with any lead, it has to be a lead that you want to work with. So knowing your client avatar. We use that term on this podcast quite a bit because I use it in terms of your money avatars. We understand that too. So pretty much an avatar is a fictional being that you create in your mind that holds all the personality or the personal characteristics that would be in your ideal client, you can serve the best. That's pretty much what an avatar would be in that.
Sure.
In the description wise.
The composite of your ideal customer.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then you'll understand their pain points. You'll understand what kind of things are going through their mind, what kind of things keep them up at night, what kind of ambitions they have, so that you know how best to serve them. I think that's very, very to get very clear in your head about that. I think a lot of people. Now, here's my question to you: as you evolve your business, wouldn't your client avatar evolve with you as well? Because I found that in my own business, initially when I was, when I first starting out, I was speaking more to coaches and consultants who were also starting out. And then as I've evolved, I've went on to, when I hit six figures, I was helping six-figure entrepreneurs, especially still focused on coaches and consultants. And now we're on seven figures, so we're helping seven-figure entrepreneurs. And now the fact that I am into M&A, because I have multiple other businesses, and I always have I've always got something else on the side. I'm gone into M&As. I'm going to go quite heavily in that this year. That means now I'm looking to serve more of these entrepreneurs who have the build and then exit strategy kind of a mindset within M&As. So does your client avatar evolve with you as you evolve as in terms of what the kind of person you are? Does that happen, or is it just am I just the oddball here?
No, it definitely happens. I mean, it really depends on the entrepreneur who's running the business. my wife and I ran a business in real estate that we talked about on the last time that you and I were together. And that avatar did not evolve hardly at all. We worked with a real estate agent that wanted to help their clients, that typically was already up and running, that was doing somewhere over 7 transactions a year. And we kept the exact same client avatar from 2008 when we introduced the product all the way through the end of the product. Even when we exited that company, it was the exact same avatar. Because we were serving that same person over and over again, we gained notoriety in the market for being the place to go for that solution, to the point where we we sold almost 50,000 units of a product and generated about $70 million in income. I think, can your avatar evolve over time? Yes, but you should be careful about leaving behind the people that you can help. And I think that, one of the biggest issues in the coaching and content and information products market is that people reach a new level and they immediately want to teach the level they're in. I think if you're a coach or a consultant or an information product company, teach the level you've surpassed. Stay out of the level you're in, because then you're teaching people stuff that you're actually doing, and maybe you haven't gained a level of expertise there. And so for us, and I think for most companies, one of the biggest issues that I see, and we work with a lot of information products companies, so agencies, coaches, consultants, information products, or a combination of all of those. One of the biggest issues we see is chasing a new avatar. And when you chase 2 rabbits, one, normally they both get away. If you stay focused on one, you become the expert for that avatar. And over time, you will be known in that market. And so can your avatar evolve? Absolutely, if you want it to, but don't leave the avatar you originally served, because there's a tremendous amount of money to be made in staying with the people who are already buying from you, and where you've gained a certain level of notoriety, and where you have testimonials, and where you have a track record of success.
Okay, that's actually very, very useful in my own personal business, actually, to make sure that we don't move ahead too rapidly, and to stick to where we are for the time being until we get to the 8-figure mark. Okay, that makes sense. All right, so core function number 2 would be nurturing the lead. So give us an idea of how you would nurture a lead.
There's a ton of different mechanisms for nurture today. When you're starting out, here's what I want everyone to know starting out. Even if you're under $1 million, here's my belief. You should have one way of generating a lead, like one promotion, one avatar, and one product up until $1 million. There's way too many entrepreneurs out there who have 11 products and serve 7 different avatars and 21 different ways of generating a lead, and they're doing $200,000 in business. The reason is there's a massive level of distraction in their business. And so stay as focused as you possibly can until you don't need to be anymore, until there's no more of that avatar left. And so when we get to lead nurture, there's a ton of ways to nurture a lead. Our organization has been around for a few years. We work with a ton of different people. And so our nurture systems are our email list. We have a podcast that yesterday got 3,000 downloads on an episode that we put out. So that's like standing in a room of 3,000 people yesterday for me. That's nurturing them. That's bringing them along. We also have a Facebook group on Facebook called Simple Operations. Operating Your Business Just Got Simple, where I do recordings and I do videos and I do Q&As. And so those are all ways of nurturing a lead. And really, lead nurture is building a relationship of trust with somebody, showing them that you're the expert in your category, and proving to them beyond a shadow of a doubt that you understand their problem. If you have 7 avatars, it's very difficult to do what I just said. If you have one that you are the expert in, they start to hear themselves in what you're talking about. So when we were in real estate, when we would talk about our avatar, when we would talk to our avatar, they would say, this person knows me better than I know myself. They know exactly the problems I'm having. In fact, they named 3 things I wasn't even thinking about. When you look at the entrepreneur right now who's in a business and overwhelmed and, doesn't have a plan, doesn't have an execution system, I know exactly what their life is like. They're getting God minutes every day. They're getting interrupted every day. They hired a team, and now they feel like it's even harder to manage the team than when they were doing it all themselves. They're experiencing the quitting fantasy. The quitting fantasy is that feeling in the back of your mind of like, man, if I just went back to doing it all myself, I think it would get easier. And, every entrepreneur has thought that, but so few have verbalized it that when I say, hey, I bet you're feeling this way, they go, oh man, how does he know that? And the reason is we work with one type of person and we nurture that one type of person. So the more that we build a relationship and show them that we know them as well as they know themselves or better, the more likely they are to come to us. And that's what you want to do through nurture, regardless of what the channel is, whether it's email, podcast, whether you have a Facebook group, whether you do Facebook Lives, whether you're on Instagram. Now I know several people who are just crushing nurture on TikTok, and it doesn't matter what the channel is. You are showing the customer you want to serve that you are an expert, that you are trustworthy, that you're authentic, you're vulnerable and real, and you can solve their problems.
Fabulous. And so that's the second core function. So what's the third core function?
It's conversion. The act of conversion is different in different businesses, but in the companies we work with, mostly online businesses, conversion usually happens on a strategy session or a discovery session. Most people would call it a sales call. In our world, it's called a strategy session or discovery session. Conversion can be on a sales letter. So somebody lands on a page and they buy your educational product. It can be on a webinar. It can be in front of an audience, whatever it is for you, but focusing on that conversion and saying, are we, how well is this strategy going for us? And do we need to improve this strategy or choose a different one? And if you're on a webinar, are you selling 15, 20, 30% of the people that show up on the webinar? If you're not, then you need to put effort into that step of the 5 core functions. The key here is that when you really look at the 5 different areas of the business we're talking about, lead generation, lead nurture, conversion, delivery, retention, resell, and upsell, we're really taking people through the customer journey. And we're saying, is each stage of your customer journey leading to the next stage? Are you taking most people through that entire journey to where they connect with you and become a lead? They're nurtured, they get to a conversion event where they buy, whether it's on a page, whether it's in a webinar in front of an audience, with you in front of an audience, whatever it is. And then the next stage is delivery. And so when we look at those, these are the analysis. This is the analysis tool you should use to analyze your business consistently, so you make consistent decisions and consistent investments in the business.
Okay. So that would be the conversion. I think most people in the high ticket space is generally tends to be over a phone call, but it can be through a webinar and maybe even a sales at a VSL as well. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but you need to have some form of conversion which is proven and which can be improved. I think I think these are coming in order as well. So if you don't have any lead generation, that's what you need to focus on.
You focus first.
If you're not nurturing them enough, that when they get to the third part, which is conversion, they should have sold themselves. And this is a very important part as well, to make sure that element's there. And then once the conversion takes place, then what's the next function?
Delivery. I think unfortunately in the online business world, like 90% of the time is put into marketing, sales and marketing, and then 10% of the time is put in delivery. Incredible delivery can be the best marketing vehicle you have. If you're delivering in a way where people, here's what really good delivery is. Delivery means you're making a promise in your marketing, and then you're delivering that promise and a little bit more in your delivery. That's it. You don't have to over deliver, give people 10 times as much or change their lives or anything like that. You will do all of those things if you make a promise to solve a problem for them, and then you fulfill that promise. And so when you're looking at your delivery, you ask questions like, are most of the people who are coming towards me, are most of the people who come towards us being helped by our problem, our solution? Are we solving the problem that they have? Are we lowering the pressure and noise in their lives? Are we making things easier on them? Are we fulfilling the promise that we make? And so ask yourself those questions. And if you're not, that's a place that you need to focus. So first you focus on lead generation. Let's get the person in the door. Then you focus on nurture. Let's make sure they stick with us and they end up buying from us. Then it's conversion. Let's get them to an active sale, and then deliver a product that actually changes things for them. And, it doesn't have to be a transformational, life-changing product. It just has to solve the problem that they came to you for. And I think far too many entrepreneurs get caught up in making way too big a promise that they can't really fulfill, or they make a promise that people really want and they try and sell, or they try and deliver something completely different. When you match your promise you make in the market when you are generating leads, the problem you tell them you solve when you're nurturing, the solution you sell them when you're converting, and then you deliver exactly that, that's going to make you one of the top companies in your category, because unfortunately, especially in the online space, there's fewer and fewer companies that do exactly that.
While you were saying this, I was, my mind went to a number of companies that have come to mind that I invested heavily last year, which did exactly that. They overpromised and underdelivered.
Yeah.
And especially when it comes to lead generation, because we were working heavily towards getting a lead generation and then sales and then converting afterwards. And the worst part is that they even had the money back guarantees, and when we asked them to honor those guarantees, the guarantees weren't honored. But there's plenty of those.
There's so many of those today.
there's so many of them there, and with the bro, I call it the bro marketing, which really aggravates me. I'm not keen on bro marketing at all, but there's so many of those around. There's so many of them around, and they show their 2 comma club from Russell Brunson, whatever, and whatever else. And it's unfortunate that kind of tainted water, I would say, that's happened. But it makes some complete sense that if you don't deliver on your marketing, then you are setting yourself up to fail, because that's what will happen. And there will be, I mean, I haven't pressurized them to give my money back. I should, being a lawyer. I just let it be for the time being, because I couldn't be bothered with the headache. But it wasn't a small amount of money. With them, it was $10,000. That's like, the 3 month payment of equivalent to $10,000. And when I canceled the contract, they hadn't delivered on literally anything. Nothing had come through, and I had 0 conversions and 0 leads through their process, and they refused to refund me. So that's not a small amount of money that's gone down the drain. Yet it makes sense that I think a lot of these companies are very good at marketing and very good at selling you whatever, and they say whatever you want to hear. And this is one of the things I think I had an objection with when we were coming up with sales scripts. I don't promise anything that I can't deliver. I think that's my ethics background coming from a lawyer. I just won't promise or verbalize or even insinuate that not actually saying the words, but insinuating we can do this and that. I don't do that. I don't even give it. I just wouldn't muddy the waters. I'm very, very transparent, very, very clear. But this is not what's happening nowadays in the market. And I think if you can distinguish yourself, like you said, and actually deliver on your promises, don't overpromise. Make a very, very clear promise, and if you can deliver on your promise, then you will be. People will remember you and appreciate you for that.
Yeah, it's kind of a challenging. It's kind of a challenging critique on what's going on in the online marketing space. That if you deliver on your promise, you're going to stand out. Because like you said, the challenge is that there's a lot of organizations, there's a lot of trainings out there. There's a lot of people who actually approach this space as the marketing is the outcome. The marketing is not the outcome. The marketing is the ends to a means of getting a customer. The delivery is the outcome. And the better your delivery, the better somebody does with it, the better that they survive. Then here's what happens. You move on to the next step, which is retention, resell, and upsell. So the first one's retention. That means that they don't come and try to get their money back, which, by the way, as an attorney, I think you should start writing some lawyer letters and go get your $10,000 back, because there's way too many people out there offering money back guarantees that they don't really honor. And that's part of why we need to get these people out of our market, because there are so many amazing coaches and consultants and agencies and online entrepreneurs. Like, we have an entire membership full of people who are absolutely changing people's lives. And, because they actually make a promise and they deliver it. So first, once you deliver, so you go through lead generation, then lead nurture, then conversion. You tell them what you're going to do. You deliver that solution. And then what happens is you get a higher ranking in the 4th core function, which is retention, resell, and upsell. Retention means they don't return it. Resell means they buy from you again. Like for us, about 70-80% of the people who go through our 1-year membership stay for another year or stay beyond their 12th month. And then it's retention, resell, and upsell. You sell them something else, or you upgrade what they bought from you. So we have what we call an ascension program. We have a program that people join, and then we have a program people aspire to. And we look at how many people are joining that higher level program. We just had an ascension in the last week. And so when you look at this analysis tool of lead generation, nurture, conversion, delivery, retention, resell, and upsell, you will ensure that you're taking a solid analysis of your company, but you're always taking the limited resources you have and investing in a place that's going to grow the business.
Fabulous. And I think this is very important to note. Being very clear about one thing that's come through from today's episode with you is be very clear about what it is that you're doing. Who are you serving? So basically have a very clear idea what your product is, what your product or service is. Have very clear who that product or service can help. And then going through that 5-step process of, making sure you get the right people, leads coming through, nurturing them, telling them how you can help them, getting them, converting them over, and, getting them into your product or service. Then actually delivering, making sure that they go through your product and service and make sure that they appreciate, or at least can go through it and get the maximum benefit. And then the last part is retention, resell, and upsell. I think that's what it is, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
And I think this has been a really, really fascinating, but it's a very simple process. I mean, that's one thing that I think nothing that's been said here is rocket science, yet is profound, because this is what most entrepreneurs, especially in the online space and in our coaching consulting industry, lack. So I know last year, I was all over the place last year. We had lead generation was our major thing, and I thought, okay, I wrote a book, I had a podcast, and they all took off my attention. So I did succeed with that. I got a international best-selling book, and my podcast reached one of the heights, and we are now one of the top ranking in the world. We're in the top 0.5%. Yet our lead generation is still not to that level, because we weren't able to monetize it in the way that we should have. Whereas the year before, when I just focused purely on those 5 steps, we made higher profit. So that's the surprising part that I found. The last year we had all these accolades, but the profit was a lot lower compared to the year before, when all we did was focus on these 5 things, and yet we had that.
No doubt. Simplicity scales and complexity creates constraint. Yeah. And if anybody's interested in getting a report that spells out these 5 core functions, if you didn't take notes during what we've talked about, you can go to Predictable Business Systems with an S, predictablebusinesssystems.com, and download it. It's our 5 core function download page.
Fabulous, brilliant. So I was going to ask you this anyway, Alex. How can people connect with you? Where can they get more information about you?
The best place is our podcast. We have a business podcast. It's in the top 1% of all business podcasts worldwide. You can go to momentumpodcast.com. It's called Momentum for the Entrepreneurial Personality Type. We have somewhere between 10 to 20 minute podcast episodes. It's me, first person. Occasionally I have a guest on, but it's rare. Usually each episode is to solve a problem for an entrepreneur. We had a huge download day yesterday, about 3,000 downloads in a single day. And I did a podcast on the dangers of wanting your team to like you. And so you might want to go check out that specific episode if you've ever felt like, oh, I just want my team to like me. And you can also go to, like I said, predictablebusinesssystems.com, download the report on the 5 core functions. And there's some other information there that might help you grow and scale your business in a way that's predictable.
Fabulous, brilliant. And so if you are listening to us on the podcast, remember the links for Alex, as just mentioned, will be in the show notes. We'll have his website and his any social media handles that he wants to share with us. Any information that he gives us, we'll have it on the show notes, so you can go and connect with him. I highly recommend you go and connect or subscribe to his podcast. I did on the last episode of Friday Feature, and he is awesome. He's amazing, and I am an avid listener because I think I can learn so much from Alex myself, and I do encourage you to do the same. And so if you are listening or watching to us on the YouTube, then down below in the description section, we have his links as well. So go check him out. He is fabulous. And if you are building a business, especially on the online space, you do want to check him out because he could probably help you scale up. And maybe at some point, if you're not a 7-figure level at the moment, in the future, you can connect
with that.
Anyway.
Sorry, I think Spotify might have just come off of pause. Sorry about that, Gull.
No problem. Anyway, as I was saying, thank you so much, Alex, for being with us. And I suppose we have to have you back another time because you have been such an awesome guest. Thank you for being such an amazing guest with us and sharing your process and making me learn a few more things today as well.
Well, thank you for your enthusiasm and for what you're doing out there. There's a lot of people who are not actually fulfilling the promises that they make. And I know you're one of them who's actually doing that. And so, Gull, thanks for your time today. And like I said, the enthusiasm and being a great interviewer. This was a lot of fun. And I'd love to come back for a second round if people respond to this well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And thank you for listening to me and Alex today. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed talking to Alex. I will be back on another Money Talkie segment with another fabulous guest, picking their brains and find out how you and I can build a better business. Until the next time we meet, this is Gull Khan signing off. Take care and bye for now.